Hey there. The question today is how can fixing one thing make you win or lose? And so in this video, I'm going to talk about a time that it went horribly wrong. And then I'm going to talk about when it was exactly right. And those things happened in a very short period of time. And then what I learned from that moving forward that helped me to become a more successful coach and player as well. So now there's this typical thing that happens with, especially with players who are anxious, is that they worry about their weaknesses. And so because they're worried about their weakness, they think that they always need to be working on them. And then what that does, though, is it kind of creates this fascination with what they do wrong instead of focusing on what they do right and what they do really well. What are their strengths? How are they going to operate out of their strengths? All right. I'm a terrible accountant. I've been a much worse accountant. I'm an improving accountant, but I'm still pretty bad. You can ask my wife. That's not my strength. That is her strength. She's amazing at that, right? I'm a coach. I'm very good at coaching. I'm extremely good at coaching, but I am not a good mechanic. But I don't. No, actually, I can fix things, but I'm not a good accountant. So, am I going to continue to beat myself up over that? No. All right, but now back to the players. So first, there was this kid Aaron that I coached, and you've probably heard me talk about him before. And he was 15-0 on the season, playing number 2 singles. And in preparation, not only for postseason, but then also knowing that he was, going to be going on and playing college tennis, I thought that it would be a good time before the final match of the season to kind of tinker around with his serve a little bit, because that was not one of his strengths. I mean, he could hit with different speeds and spins and move the ball around, but he didn't really have a serve as a so-called weapon. So I just wanted to help him get a couple of more miles per hour out of it. And the final matchup of the year, he had played that player and beaten him in straight sets. And so I wasn't really worried about him not winning that match. And he was 15-0. The other kid had lost 6 matches to other people. So, so we worked on his serve. And to connect this to the real world, right? Here's what's going to happen. You're going to have players who come. You as a player are going to think, okay, right before I go play my match, I need to go work on a stroke. And that's actually the opposite is true. You should probably work on your strokes after you get done with your tournament. But your game is your game when you go into a tournament. You just have to play with what you have and learn to win with that. But when you introduce technical instruction and technical thought into going out to play your match, you're thinking about how to do something, it can be a major problem. And so here's what happened with Aaron. Aaron's serve was not that great in this particular match, but he still managed to win the first set and get up 5-2. And that's when a double disaster struck. One, when he was serving at 5-2, he didn't make first serves, and the other kid broke him. And so now it's 5-3, and the other kid's serving. And then all of a sudden, buoyed by a sense that he just broke in a game that could have lost the match, the other kid loosened up and started playing great. And now it's 5-4. And then, on the changeover, I go to Aaron and he's like, I'm just not comfortable with my serve. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And so I'm thinking, it's a pretty tough place to know that you as a coach or, as a player, that you initiated something that created something, making it more difficult. So anyway, he continued to fail to get first serves in, and now it's 5-all, and it goes into a tiebreaker, and the other kid wins the tiebreaker, and now we're going into a third set. And now all of a sudden, this kid who's a streaky player, we've always known that he has the capacity to play well, but he's just very up and down. He can play a great match followed by a bad match. You know, he could play 3 great games and play 4 bad games. But just one problem in that third set, I think he hit 24 winners in the third set. I think Aaron maybe won 3 or 4 points the whole time, maybe 5. But I mean, this kid he hit aces, he hit return winners, he hit forehand ground stroke winners, like off the first shot, you know, in the rally. He was hitting backhand winners, volleys, overheads. It was on fire and in lines all over the place. So Aaron lost the match, 6-love in the third. And it was just hopeless. I mean, the other kid was on. So, you know, so that is it's a warning to not go, you know, you can improve one thing, but what I'm going to suggest is that the one thing that you want to improve is a tactic. That's all. So if the technique has to do with supporting a tactic and you practice that tactic over and over again, then you're golden, right? But if you make any major changes, especially to a serve, the serve is the most timing sensitive shot. And if you're working on something like right before, you know, the days before a match that really matters, then you run the risk of thinking about how to do it too much. So that I accept responsibility for that loss. And as it stood, we lost that team match, which that's too bad. And that team also then tied us for the championship. So we could have won the championship outright had it not been for that one error, right? I don't know if you've heard the expression "for the want of a nail," right? For the want of a nail, the shoe on the horse was lost. For the loss of a horse, the message was lost. For the want of a message, the battle was lost. So sometimes it can come down to one little thing, and you have to be mindful of that. So now it's maybe 2 weeks later, and we're in the postseason, and we've gotten to the part where individuals play in singles and doubles tournaments and whatnot. So my other player, my number 1 player, won our league. And in the league final, he was playing a kid that we really like, you know, just really a decent kid, and you know, played a really good match. And I think what we knew also is that the next year, so, you know, had given my kid fits. But anyway, so Shreyas won this match in straight sets. But afterwards, both the other player and his dad came to me, and they said, "Hey, you know, we want to wish Shreyas luck, you know, going forward into the next round." And I'm not sure if Shreyas was standing right there. He might have been. So I was like, "We'll talk to him." So, but the dad, I think, quietly came to me and said, "Hey, you know, one thing we've noticed about Shreyas is that when he's at the net, as soon as he gets lobbed, he runs back. So we think that he'll be even tougher if he learns to take that overhead out of the air for the first one and not go all the way back." You know, and I was like, "Oh, wow, thank you. Good point." Right. So I put that in my hip pocket. I didn't really want to talk about that with Shreyas while he was enjoying his victory, you know, winning the league for the second time. Anyway, so the next day at practice, I go to Shreyas, and I'm like, "Hey, here's something that Daniel's dad was telling me that we should work on when you're coming to the net. You know, take that overhead out of the air, and don't let it bounce. Don't run back." So oh man, so all of a sudden this big argument ensues. He's like, "Well, you wrecked Aaron's serve," and I was like, "Oh man, it's coming back on me." right? This is the true life of a real true coach, right? You know, a lot of videos that you see out there are from people who are showing you their perfect lives, you know, and their studio that's, you know, perfectly done, and players that they've worked with for 10 years, but they don't show you the 10 years of grueling work that went into it, right? They don't show you how difficult it was at first. But I'm happy to share that stuff with you. And I see I have 3 listeners right now. I have 3 people watching. So thank you for watching. And if you don't mind, you can spend your social digital currency right now. You can go like, subscribe, right? And then put a little comment. Say hello in the comments. Hopefully those will pop up. Sometimes I get them. Sometimes I don't. But so Shrez is like, Coach, come on, man. You know, you messed up Aaron with his serve, and then he lost that match. And I'm like, you know what? You're right about that, but this is different. And the reason this is different is because we're not going to spend, you know, an hour and a half on it over 3 days. We're going to do it for 10 minutes. And it's a tactical thing. It doesn't really have to do with changing your stroke in any way. We're just going to get you to be a little bit more aggressive, moving back to hit an overhead. So, you know, he begrudgingly went about the process. And, you know, I tried to make sure that it was a confidence booster all the way. So I gave him some easy ones. He put them away. We went a little bit further back. He's making those. He goes a little further back. He's making those a little further back. Oh, he started to miss 1 or 2. So I'm like, okay, let's just stay right here until you can make, you know, 10 in a row. So he did that. You know, and then I'm like, okay, let's see how far you can go back and make 1, right? And so he did that. And then I'm like, now we're going to go a little farther. And we're going to say, we're going to look at how far is too far, right? So I hit some lobs a little farther, and it's like, okay, no, see, on those, you're going to have to run back on those. So you have this decision to make. So you gauge that quickly. Am I going to take this out of the air? So the default position is I'm taking it out of the air. But then what happens next is that you go, okay, wait, that's too far, and you run. And that's fine. You can do that. So, but that decision-making has to be trained. And this is why this is a tennis 301 kind of a thing, because, you know, Shreyas at that time was playing 5-0 level tennis, maybe 5-5, and, you know, was doing quite well. So, you know, these little decision-making things that come up as you advance. This isn't something that, you know, 3-5s have to worry about too much. You know, with a 3-5, I would simplify it. So for tennis 201, I would just say, look, you want to try to take as many overheads out of the air as you can, but as soon as you realize that it's too high or too far, you got to run and not really break it down into, you know, 24 feet is okay to run back, but 27 feet is not. See, so at a higher level, you kind of have to know that dividing line with more specificity. So as it turned out, then he goes and he plays this first round match in the next level up in California. We call them sections. And, you know, in California, sections are very large. So our sections are about, in my area, it's 145 teams. So in some smaller states, that's like a state championship. So anyway, so he's in this sectional championship thing, and he's playing a kid that's ranked above him, and he's the underdog. And most people are, you know, saying, "Oh, I think the other kid's going to win this." But some people are like, "Okay, yeah, Shreyas has a chance here, but he's going to have to come to the net, blah blah blah, whatever." So, as it turns out, he goes and he's playing, and the other kid lobs him. And he moves back and he hits a really good overhead. And it was all I could do not to go, I told you so. Right? I was just like, he did it. Right? Awesome. And that happened And that happened like 5 or 6 times. The kid lobbed, the lob wasn't quite enough to push him all the way back. And he took the ball out of the air, maintained the advantage, and won some points that he might have lost or would have become 50-50 points again. So this is the dividing line between good and great players, is that you stay on offense to give yourself a higher winning percentage. But when you go into a default sort of defensive mode and you give up on offense, then you make things more of a 50-50 or less proposition. Because this would be interesting. I would love to know the data on what happens. What's the winning percentage of a player who was at the net, got lobbed, and ran back? I'm going to guess that it's less than 50%, because now in retreating, then the other player can come forward if they choose to, right? Or in retreating, you're more likely to make an error because your body weight's going backwards. So you have to play those shots pretty smartly and pretty defensively. And I think a lot of mistakes get made when running back. And that also is why people are afraid to go to the net, because they haven't been trained to be able to go back and retrieve things, take overheads out of the air, and then run back and hit another lob back. I hit another lob back and run right back in. That's what I used to do. That's one of my favorite things. Oh, you lobbed me. Okay, I'm going to lob you back. And then while that ball is in the air, way up in the air, I'm back inside the service line again. So congratulations. So moving forward, here's what I discovered is that, it's almost universal that before a so-called big match, that a player is going to feel like there's something that they want to improve. And I would say do it very judiciously. Do not work on a stroke. Don't change anybody's stroke right before a big match. But you can work on one little tactical issue that supports a strategy that they play. If they say, "Oh, coach, I want to work on my drop shot," I'm like, "No, we're not introducing all of a sudden you're going to drop shot 20 times in this next match. No. And generally, what I'm doing when we're playing, getting ready to play something, I want them to practice all their shots. I want them to play some practice sets, and I want a lot of large group games. I want my players and all my people to feel light and loose and having fun to get ready for that so-called big match. And I don't even really talk about big matches. I don't load extra pressure on my players. What I try to do is take it off of them. So to conclude, the reason people do that is because they're feeling pressure, and they're feeling pressure because they're thinking too much about their weakness. And what they really ought to be doing is thinking about their strength. So now, see, if we flash back to Aaron, perhaps if I hadn't messed with his serve, then he would have continued to play the rest of his game just fine and made more first serves instead of trying to hit more first serves harder. And then, even if he was making some harder serves, I had changed the rhythm of his serve, and it backfired at the worst possible time. So a word of caution, right? It can go, so focus on the strengths, keep it light, practice, and do practice sets before a big match. That's a lot more productive. That's a lot more fun. And then keep it light. Let everybody know that tennis is a game and you're supposed to have fun with it, and then you're going to probably have your best chance of winning anyway. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Take a moment, spend your social digital currency, and we'll see you in the next one. Final word. I've actually begun now the editing process for Tennis Strategy 201. And I'm a little bit behind schedule, but I'm glad that I made a very aggressive schedule for that. So perhaps I will have a draft ready in another week. So I'm going to be writing on that every day for a while until I have a draft. Let me know if you would like the first draft of that. And I usually send out a first draft that's like not perfect to people that want it. You can give me an early review, and then I clean a lot of things up and add diagrams and stuff like that at the end. So thanks for watching.